There's been a massive increase in our prison population in the past decade, and with the inmate population sitting at a 10-year high, and this is according to the latest data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, one of the major causes of this rapid increase is the crime and violence associated with the drug ice and the problems involved. Our courts are choked in dealing with the addicts, with further social impact being seen within the Children's Court Family Section, forced into overdrive in removing young children who face the danger of physical and sexual assault from their ICE-dependent partners, and the cost to the taxpayers running into the millions now. And yet we're seeing little investment in treatment centres to deal with this issue. To talk some more on this, let's have a chat to Les Twentyman, youth worker and founder of the 20th Man Fund. Good evening, Les.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. You'd obviously like to see more investment in treatment centres to deal with the issue.
Absolutely. Look, this is our sort of version of terrorism in our suburbs. I mean, as you just said, I mean, our jails are full. Children have been removed at massive rates, and in fact, one of the biggest growth industries is the family children's court sector, where lawyers are making millions of dollars out of, trying to, I guess, bring about a situation where young children want to stay with their parents, but because the parents have addiction, of course, can't be. And so you have this situation where grandparents are losing their houses because they've got to pay for lawyers to sort of try and get these kids removed, be placed in some sort of safety. And the other thing is we've now seen children as young as 4 and 5 years of age who are living in those circumstances are presenting with post-traumatic stress disorder because of all the violence they see on a daily basis.
So you'd like to see not only more treatment centres in Australia, but obviously people treated out of jail for this addiction.
Yeah, well, look, the problem is the jails are full of the drug. I was only talking to a woman the other day who's a prison officer in Victoria, and someone I've known for 30-odd years, and she just said, oh, well, forget about it not being in the system, and that's one of the problems. But what we've got to look at is this is a drug that is a health issue, but it also is a massive social issue, because as we saw in America, where whole towns have been wiped out by this particular drug, the same thing's happening here in Australia, particularly in regional parts of Australia, where towns have become basically captive to drug cartels and bikie gangs, and they're making billions of dollars out of this, and yet there's very little treatment available, and a lot of the treatments that is available is totally outdated, because it's still back in the, I guess, in the heroin sort of rehabilitation type treatment centres, which is totally different from people with psychosis and are quite sort of, in some cases, deranged. And the other thing is it's finding its way onto roads. Some of the worst accidents of recent time have been with people affected by methamphetamine behind the wheel. We had a case where one tourist on ice went through an intersection and killed 3 people in Melbourne. We had that situation up in Cairns, of course, with the mother with the 8 children, and it's highly suspected that she also was affected by this. So at all levels, on the roads, in the community, and basically, as I said, jails are full of it, and it's just something that I believe. In fact, I'm going to Canberra on the 18th and 19th of March to speak to both sides of Parliament about looking at things such as outreach youth workers attached to schools who would pick up on children that don't go to school, because when these people are affected on ice, they don't know what day it is. So young children who are dependent on them don't go to school. Some cases had one particular girl hadn't been to school for nearly 2 years, and these kids just fall so far behind. School becomes a very an unpleasant experience for them, because they feel basically left out, and so they basically are the users of tomorrow, because they have fractured education, drop out of the system very early, and generally get caught up in their substance.
So it's a vicious cycle, Les.
I don't think in my 40 years as a youth worker and school teacher that I have seen such a crisis that we've got at the moment. Because you look at all this terrorism, the terrorism particularly in Western Sydney and that is linked to bikie gangs. Bikie gangs are linked to this drug. You know, it's just a massive problem.
Yeah. You're a brave man, Les, speaking out about the outlawed bikie gangs and the drug cartels. Have they given you any trouble over what you're trying to achieve with the 20th Man Fund?
No, look, the only thing is a bit of a funny story. I was asked to do 3 days tour of Wimmera, which is regional Victoria, and I had to leave my car at one particular police station to be toured around over the next 3 days. And being a Western Suburbs braver boy from Melbourne, I went to get in the back of the divvy van when they said, no, you can ride in the front, up the front with us this time. So that was a bit of a laugh. But they took it. Well, look, I tell you, at one particular town, the biggest crowd they ever had was 120 people when Merv Hughes turned up once to do a sports night. 450 people turned up. And another town, when the biggest crowd ever was 90, something like 300. And I just did one the other day in Melbourne with a politician, Calvin Thompson. It was only, the place could only take 80 people and 160 people, because people are absolutely in fear of their children and their grandchildren being caught up in this terrible substance.
It is a terrible substance indeed. Les Twentyman having a chat with us tonight, the youth worker and founder of the 20th Man Fund, and good luck on his trip to Canberra on the 18th and 19th of March.